Hello and welcome. This is Alistair Spears from now Jakarta, now Bali and MVB, coming to you with a very special interview. Today we are interviewing Ibu Noni Purnomo, a lady who, if you don't know, you should do, because she is the lady behind one of Indonesia's most trusted and most visible companies, the wonderful Bluebird Group, which you can see their taxis every year, but there's a lot more to it than just the taxis. Welcome, Ibu Noni, and it's very nice to see you despite these difficult times.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Look, let's talk about the history, a very quick bit of history of Bluebird. You started many years ago. I think your grandmother was the lady who started it all, which is a very good sign back in those days to have a lady entrepreneur taking on the institutions all around her and created something which is probably one of the biggest taxi companies in the world, is it not? I think at one point you had more vehicles than any other single taxi company. Is that correct?
Yes, at one point. It changed a lot now, though, unfortunately. But yeah. I think we're still one of the largest in the world.
But look, this pandemic has really hit everybody very hard. The transportation industry has been hit extremely hard. Aviation gone, hotels which you service a lot, pretty much closed down. How has the COVID pandemic affected Bluebird overall?
Thank you, Alistair. Yes, Bluebird has been around for more than 48 years. As you mentioned earlier, it started by my late grandmother and then continued by my father, who built the company from 2 vehicles to about 30,000 vehicles at this moment in total, not just taxis, as you mentioned earlier. But as many of us know, Bluebird is well known as a transportation services company that focus on giving really reliable, safe, and comfortable services to our customers. And we would like to focus really still on that, even though we are facing a lot of challenges. The COVID situation, as happened to a lot of industry, and especially in transportation industry, really affected negatively to our performances or our revenue. In April, for example, our revenue was down by about 70%. That was the beginning of the COVID situation in Indonesia, though it was a pretty huge hit at that time. So what is very important for us, and which we have been doing, is that how do we balance managing the crisis itself, which is really real. I mean, when your revenue is down by 70% and you have so many people that you need to take care of, while at the same time, we still need to build for the future. We still need to do some investments for the future, so that, because we strongly believe that the market will eventually pick up again. So the first thing we did is that we do a financial health check. So it is very important when the crisis hits that we really know ourselves much better than anybody else, if I can put it that way. So we do the financial check, just like we do our health check, to make sure that we will be able to sustain this kind of challenge, and for how long, and what kind of measurements that we need to do. Because the last resort we want to see is to just cut off or mass cutting off of our human resources, for example. So we try our best to manage the crisis as well as possible. One of a real example is that we're trying to talk to our partners. We try to get like leniency in our loan payments from the banks. And the good thing is, because we have a very good relationship and we have a very good historical relationship with our partners, financial partners. That's why they trust that we are going to be able to bounce back as well. So it's very helpful. That was a very helpful support from our partners. And also we're trying to look for what is the new behavior or the new way of transportation that caused the changes that caused by COVID-19 situation. So as we all know, especially in April. It was the first time in my life to see Jakarta in the middle of the day on a Monday afternoon was completely empty. Nobody has ever seen that, right? And so it was a shock. It was a real shock for transportation industry. What we're trying to do is we're trying to map out, yes, it is true that people do not go out as much as before, but when people are staying at home, they also still need to have their life needs fulfilled. So that's why in April, we switch and we pivot ourselves to add new services to our line of service, which is delivery of goods and food. So I gave the task to our IT people, and well, if you ask them, they may not really like it on that time, because I said, you have 2 sprints to put in My Bluebird Bird Kirim, which is our new service. It was a tremendous pressure, but we managed to do it. So I think it is very important that we quickly pivot and look for different opportunities in order to survive. Some people might ask why, right? Why do we have to do these things? How do we get that energy? I come back to what my late grandmother told me before she passed away, because she said, our responsibility as the management, as the owner of Bluebird, is not just for the shareholders. Our responsibility is actually for the well-being of every single person who depends their life on Bluebird. That includes, the foremost is our drivers and employees, but also our customers who still need to go to hospital, the doctors, the nurses, they trusted our service to still go to the hospital to help the patients. So we have to keep moving. I think that's the main driver of our energy.
In fact, you do have a very good reputation for supporting your drivers and their families. Did you do anything special for them during this period? Because I know that's one of the priorities that you've always had, which gives them a feeling of being family, and in turn they pass that on to your customers, and that's one of the other reputations that you've built over the years.
Yes, thank you, Alistair. For example, in the beginning of the PSBB in April, we try to help them as much as possible by supporting their needs, like food. So we give them breakfast and dinner, free breakfast and dinner, because they come back to our depot every single day. So, and they can stay with us because we have our own dormitory. So we supported them with the food, we supported them with the dormitory, and also with health apparatus like free masks, free disinfectants that they can use each time in the car. And the disinfectant can be used by our passengers as well, because it is very important for that. So, and we also gave staple food for their family, because our revenue is down so much. That also affected their income. So we're giving them staple food like rice, sugar, those kind of the basic needs of households. And on top of that, in May, we still gave scholarships to the children of our drivers, because now more than ever, I think we need to be able to support the education of our next generation. And the last thing we want is for our drivers' children to not be able to go to school because of the condition. So we still gave the scholarships to the children of the drivers. This year we gave to about more than 1,300 students this
Wow.
May. Yeah,
Fantastic.
so I think that those are the basic thing that we try as much as possible. The good news is June, July, August, I think the situation started to come back. But as we all know, now there's a new PSBB again. So of course it affected us again. So at this moment, we're trying to figure out how can we support our drivers and our employees again. We have done a lot of business process efficiencies, business process reduction, and also efficiencies in the whole structure. So I think this time we want to focus on two things. One is how to retain good drivers and how to retain good employees. Because it is very important to us. And on top of that, of course, we still have to be lean in everything. We have to do a lot of cost efficiencies. So we're also changing a lot of our business processes. For example, because we have a lot of depots and each of our depots have our own maintenance or service stations. Each of those service stations used to have their own stock of spare parts. So at this moment, we try to centralize them. So that way also we can reduce the pricing. So it's more efficient, it's economic of scale. And we also can reduce the number of spare parts. We can increase the turnover of the spare parts usage itself so that we don't have to have a lot of stocks in our depots. You know, we're trying to do just to make the whole organization as lean as possible and as cost efficiency as possible.
Yes, it's a big task when you've got 30,000 vehicles under your control. Look, one of the major roles you've played over the years is providing buses for schools. And with the schools closed, that's going to be a huge number of vehicles which are sitting without anything to do. And the hotels with it, normally you'd have all of your golden birds and silver birds waiting in hotels, and that business has really disappeared. What are you doing with the vehicles that have nothing to do? Have you managed to pivot them and find new roles for those, some of them really fantastic, very high quality vehicles too?
Yes, so we do several things on that. One is we try to accelerate the resale of our vehicles. Before the situation, we sell the vehicles after 4 years. At this moment, we reevaluate that and we see if we need to sell the vehicles earlier. So after 2 years, and then we can sell the vehicles. We can be more flexible in Golden Bird, for example, because it doesn't have the yellow plate. For yellow plate vehicles, we have to use the vehicle for at least 5 years. That's why we only sell it after 5 years. But for Golden Bird, that's what we're doing. So that's why the sale of our used cars has been increasing. Because at this moment, I think because we have a lot of depreciations as well. So it is very important for us to manage this financial situation as well. But on the other hand, we're also doing some pivoting. So we've been collaborating with some e-commerce companies, for example, to do deliveries. So we do B2B coordination. We do B2B relationship from warehouse to warehouse, from warehouse to multiple points, because we managed to calculate if you have goods to be delivered to more than one point, using our service is cheaper than using two-wheelers. And so we can fit in one vehicle, we can fit a lot of goods, right? And then we can deliver to multiple points. And also for goods that are above 20 kilos, it is more useful to use our service. So we are pivoting the services for both taxis and Golden Bird. So for our Big Bird, a lot of them are just sitting down and waiting for the schools to be open again, and hopefully soon. We cannot really do a lot of conversions for the Big Bird because they're specially prepared for the schools. But we also have Big Bird fleets that are catering retail market. Some of them we convert them to, because there's still a lot of bike community who wants to go somewhere. And of course we are adhering with the government regulations. So, you know, only 50% of the passengers capacity that we can take each time. We convert some of the of the seats to become racks for bicycle. You know, we do those kind of things as well.
It's very good. Look, one of the most affected areas has been Bali, but with no overseas tourists at all. I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago and it was empty. I presume your business there really has just flattened out entirely, which is a pity. But in fact, you were suffering from local, shall we say, discrimination in Bali before that anyway, which is probably too sensitive to go into here, but I was aware that you were having a few problems with the protect our local drivers situation. But what have you done about Bali? Have you just closed down this? I mean, there's nobody going anywhere.
No, we cannot completely close down because again, we still need to support the lives of our drivers and our employees. We do have a lot of reduction. So we still have some fleet in operations. And I think the driver takes turn. And we work together with some other companies as well, the same way as what we do in Jakarta. For example, we work together with Indo Grossier, for example, and we work together with another big supermarket in Bali. So we try to work together with another company so that we still can do the distributions for them. And we work together with a lot of restaurants for delivery,
right?
Delivery services. So it is not, of course, nearly as good as before this whole situation, but we're just trying to manage so that we can keep the operations running in Bali. And we just received a platinum award from the Bali government for being for safety in attending the COVID situation.
Very good, congratulations. I believe you also you own a resort in Lombok as well, which must be very badly hit as well. A place which I've stayed in several times. It's a lovely spot, but Lombok is I think is even more quiet than Bali, isn't it?
Yes, yes. That one, there is basically the occupation is maybe 3%.
Yes, it's really it's very sad. Let's talk a bit quickly of the future. Look, you've already faced up to the threat of the Grabs and the Gojeks. I mean, that happened a few years ago, and you seem to have come through the other side and brought your own apps into play and created a My Bluebird and really done some quite innovative things. You didn't just sit still and go, help, what are we going to do? Have you got your weapons in place for the future? What's happening next? How are we going to keep going with the Bluebird brand as the champion of transportation, which it has been up to now?
Thank you. Yeah, we have been known as an innovative company, right? So I think we're keeping that as our spirit. We always have to look for new ways. We always have to try to be better each time. Yes, we did maneuver through the challenges by introducing or improving our own app, the My Bluebird app that was re-released in 2016. And also we collaborate. We collaborate with several other companies, right? I think we all know that we collaborate with Gojek, we collaborate with Tokopedia, we collaborate with Traveloka. So we're extending our collaborations to more and more. And we just recently launched our collaboration with PT KAI, Kereta Api Indonesia, to handle their first mile, last mile, and also their logistics services. So we just collaborate with other transportation company because what is most important at this moment is for a person to have a seamless, integrated transportation experience. I think that's what each of us needs. So because we even though we have several types of services, we understand that we won't be able to be there 100% of the time. So we want to be in your journey most of the time. So that's why we need to collaborate with others. Our basic vision is that we should be able to provide a platform, a transportation platform that has a basis of multiple channels. So if one wants to use transportation or Bluebird services, then one can do the reservation through many different channels. As we all know, the traditional way, call center, we still have our call center. You can go out from your office or your apartment or your house and wait on the street side, and you still can hail our taxi. You can use My Bluebird. You can use Go Bluebird in Gojek, for example. So we keep extending this way of the channel of reservations. The second one is multi-channel for payment. So as we know now, we have a tendency of moving toward non-cash payment. We have been preparing for that as well. So we still have the choices of paying by cash. We can have a choice of, even if you stop a taxi, you can pay by using a My Bluebird app. And then also you can use your credit card, you can use debit card, and you can use Chris now, the QRIS. So we just have and we work together with Link Aja as well, for example. So it's multi-channel of payment. And what is also important is multi-type of product. We have taxis, we have Silverbird, as you mentioned, we have Golden Bird, we have buses. So we would like to cater to many different needs of transportation. So I think that's how we're going to move forward. And we go beyond just passenger. We also are catering, as I mentioned earlier, goods and food as well. So while everybody is still busy, while the customer is down, our kitchen is still busy. So
Fantastic.
we're moving forward our My Bluebird revamp again this year. We're planning to do another My Bluebird revamp next year, but we're taking it to this year so that hopefully we will be able to launch it toward the end of this year. So we'll let you know when we're going to launch this new My Bluebird app again.
Fantastic. Now, one of the things that I've been most impressed with just going into the future was the establishment of the electric fleet. Well, I mean, one of my passions, as you see behind MVP, my sustainability program, were our heroes. Look, you may not even remember starting the first LNG, which is a long time ago, actually back in your grandmother's days, the New Zealand idea of having CNG or LNG, I don't remember which.
I was the mechanic.
You were installing.
I was the one who put the converter in the car.
Yep. So, I mean, that was incredibly visionary then to have clean, emissionless vehicles. Now you start in electric vehicles. What's happened? They were there. We were ready for them. You were going to show everyone what to do. Are we still on track?
We are definitely not on track. We wish that we could add more this year. We actually had ordered a lot more already, but because of the situation, again, we need to look into our CapEx, so we have to postpone it. It doesn't mean that we're canceling the idea, because it is part of our vision to be a sustainable company. And sustainable means that we need to take care of our environment as well. That's why, as you mentioned, CNG was done in the early 80s.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Right? No, yeah. Far long before.
And even in the 80s, we also was the only one of the 3 companies in Indonesia who owns engine analyzers to monitor the CO2. So we're very focused on, it is in our blood to always focus on the environment. So it is not canceled. Unfortunately, it has to be postponed, but we will still come back to it whenever the circumstances is on our side again. We still have that plan in our budget, but it's been postponed.
I'm glad to hear that. Look, the example that you give to others is great, whether it be from the human resources side, from the change in the way of doing business, and of course in the sustainability. Always a great admiration that you engender in people's reaction. I know that we're out of time on this because we've done our half hour. I'd like to thank you very much for coming to share the update on what Bluebird's doing. We need to inspire people at this time. A lot of people are using COVID and pandemic as a reason not to do things. To see that you are using this as a time to do things is very inspirational, and congratulations from all of us here at now Jakarta, now Bali, and MVP. We thank you for being with us today, Ibu Noni, and look forward to seeing you in the flesh one of these days, rather than across a crowded computer. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Alistair. Thank you for the opportunity.